What's up, guys? I'm going to do something a little bit different because I am so bogged down with videos I have to do and with schoolwork and a short film I'm in post-production on and this whole Defy Media thing. I still haven't heard anything, by the way, in regards to what's going on with the 2 months that are owed. A lot of other creators have reached out to me who are also in a similar position. I feel you guys. I feel it. I understand. Trust me. It sucks. There's nothing good about it. Hopefully some positive things can come out of it. I was just interviewed by a big outlet. That's going to probably be going out pretty soon, and maybe that'll help push some things into action. I don't know. That being said, I simply don't have the time to do like a billion videos for these movies I haven't talked about and a TV show. I am still going to do a big video about The Haunting of Hill House because I love that show so much. I don't want to cram it into a big video. I want to take the time to really talk about that. But I want to get some films out of the way that I did see that people are requesting me to talk about in this video. I'm going to do it a little quicker than usual because that's just what I have to do right now in my life. I got to get this out of the way. I have a lot on my plate right now. So sorry that these aren't in depth, but I don't really have a choice. I don't have the time. So let's start with The Grinch. The Grinch was all right. I don't know, like it's completely inoffensive. It's a cartoon movie with the Grinch that follows the basic narrative structure of Dr. Seuss's book, except adding a few things here and there and making a few things longer. Is it as good as the original, like 30-minute cartoon? No. Is it as good as Jim Carrey's Grinch? It kind of depends on how you view that movie. Like adults of that era really didn't like it, but kids really like that movie. And so if you're like really attached to Jim Carrey's Grinch, then I feel like you're probably just going to watch this and think, man, I wish Jim Carrey was doing this, or I wish it was some sort of continuation of that. Benedict Cumberbatch does a good job with the voice work. It's a beautiful looking movie. I think young kids will really like it, but for me, I was kind of bored with it. Like, it's fine. I'd give The Grinch a C plus. I also saw Overlord, the new J.J. Abrams produced film that a lot of people thought was going to be a Cloverfield movie. It's not. This is a film that takes place during the Nazi reign in Germany, and we have soldiers who encounter Nazis who are experimenting and turning themselves into zombies, and now we have a war film, which was fine. It was enjoyable. I didn't give a shit about a single character in this movie. If every single character got blown up and then it was just like zombies running around, I would not have cared. That's easily my biggest flaw with the movie, is that there was just not much characterization. I just didn't really feel invested in the film, but it was action heavy enough and well acted enough to appreciate. There wasn't enough zombies either. Like, I imagine the pitch for this movie was, hey, what about a movie during the Nazi stuff in Germany, but with zombies? But there's just not that many zombies. And so you kind of lose out on the fact that it takes a while for the movie to commit to its absurdities. It's like, is it a war film or is it a crazy, absurd zombie movie with tons of blood? Once it commits, it's really entertaining. I'd give Overlord a B minus. All right, Bohemian Rhapsody. Now, this one I've been requested to do a lot. I am a humongous fan of Queen. My wife and I were talking the other day. If we could go back in time and see any band live, it would be Queen. A musical artist, solo, Michael Jackson. But a band, Queen. Adore them. Freddie Mercury was a musical genius, and so I was super excited for this movie. And there's a lot to like in it, and I know that fans are drooling over this movie, and critics were kind of mixed on it. There's a lot to like about the movie, namely Rami Malek, who is basically Freddie Mercury reincarnated, at least when he's performing. Freddie Mercury in person, in private, was apparently a lot more reserved and introverted than the depiction of his character in this film. Very extroverted and, loves to talk to people and very open. In real life, from what I understand from doing research on him over the course of my life, because like I said, I love Queen, he was a little bit more introverted. But the performances, holy shit. I mean, the recreation of the Live Aid concert, The tongue flicker, him looking between his legs, the Pepsi bottles on the piano, the way he would stand and pose with the microphone. It's just incredible recreation of an iconic concert. So the performance aspect of Bohemian Rhapsody I thought was wonderful. It's a bit of a mixed bag for me, though, whenever he's not performing, because I found the movie took a very safe approach to a man who did a lot. I mean, this guy did drugs, and he unfortunately died of AIDS. And yet, it's just like very sanitized and safe. The movie rarely focuses on the sadder times, and when it does, it rains on him and other really tired movie cliches. It just avoids a lot of things I would have loved to have seen them talk about. Like, they mentioned Michael Jackson. His manager during a scene says, Michael Jackson sold 4% of all albums this year. And it doesn't even talk about the fact that during the early 80s, Freddie Mercury and Michael Jackson collaborated on songs. They just weren't released until later. It's like the film just expects us to only care about his greatest hits. They barely talk about Under Pressure and David Bowie either. It's just playing in the background briefly. Now, maybe they thought it was a little bit too soon since he recently passed to have somebody portray Bowie in the movie. That could be. There's just a lot that they glossed over. And there's a lot of factually inaccurate stuff, too. I don't really consider this a spoiler, but I guess if you don't know anything about Freddie Mercury's life, I already kind of spoiled it by saying that he eventually died of AIDS. But in the film, in 1985, right before the Live Aid concert, he tells the band that he was diagnosed. But he wasn't diagnosed in real life until 1987. So there's a lot of stuff like that in the film that bugged me as a big fan of Freddie Mercury. Yeah, if you like the music, you can go and see somebody really wonderfully recreate it. And you can celebrate that life. And you should. It's certainly not an awful movie, and I do think it's a bit better than critics are saying, but it was far too safe for my taste. I mean, this is a guy who stood on stage and riffed with the audience and then directly told the audience, fuck you. Fuck you. And this is a PG-13 movie where he says Freddie fucking Mercury once. And I'm like, this guy was a lot harder edge than this. And I found that annoying. I'm going to give Bohemian Rhapsody a C+. Bad Times at El Royale I really loved. I found this to be an extremely well-directed film that juggled a lot of storylines very carefully. Drew Goddard directed the film, who I did have a chance to meet back in 2012 when Cabin in the Woods came out. He came to an Ohio screening of it in Columbus, and I drove down there to meet him. Really nice guy. I thought he did an excellent job. I loved all the performances. I really enjoyed the way this movie tied itself together. It takes its time considerably. It sets up little nuggets of things, asks you to be patient about it, and then later you'll find out more about it. Sometimes it can be a little frustrating because you're like, that doesn't make any sense, and then you just tell yourself, wait, you'll get it, you'll figure it out, and of course it does. Chris Hemsworth, I thought, played a really good villain. I loved the whole third act. I think my only real issue with the movie were a few character choices. Some scenes were a bit too slow, and maybe thought they were a little bigger than they were. But I really enjoyed this movie, and I recommend you check it out. I'm going to give it a B+. Mandy, starring Nicolas Cage, easily one of my most anticipated films of the year. Anytime one of the first photos you release of a film is Nicolas Cage covered in blood, then I'm extremely happy. First half of the movie, very different from the last half. The last half is pretty much exactly what I was hoping the entire film would be like. As soon as a scene in a bathroom, everything after that, I'm like, yep, this is what I want. Love it. Perfection. Nicolas Cage, I love you. You're a genius. Really beautifully shot film. Sometimes, though, the use of post-processed grain and lens flares from nothing were very annoying. Sometimes scenes that were very, very pink were just almost like eye bleeding and so horrible to look at that I was so confused as to why it was on the screen for as long as it was. And then other scenes were just gorgeous. The first half, I've seen it twice now, is a bit slow and a bit hard to get through on the second viewing. There's a lot to love about this movie. The music, the performances, Nick Cage especially. It's just that I feel like at times the director was getting in the way of the film people wanted. And that's just me. I certainly would highly recommend the movie. There's just aspects of the first half that it felt like I was waiting for the movie to get going, waiting for the movie they marketed. But I would recommend Mandy purely on its originality, Nick Cage, and a director who definitely has a vision, who is really interested in seeing your reaction to that vision. And I think he has a bright future. I'm going to give Mandy a B. All right, Daredevil Season 3. I would love to make a whole video about this, but I just don't have the time. First 4 to 5 episodes, I was kind of waiting to get really into it. Like, I liked it. Fisk being back, Vincent D'Onofrio, holy shit, what an actor. Was getting into it, but it was kind of like, all right, we're getting close, and then, minor spoilers, I guess, but as soon as Matt caught that weapon in front of Foggy's face, holy shit. This season became my favorite season of all of Daredevil. The rest of it was a nail-biting exercise in perfectly executed tension. I was so pleased with the writing, with the character choices, with the action scenes, with the way they shuffled these people around to create maximum tension and suspense. Daredevil Season 3 really gave me what I wanted. Holy shit, Vincent D'Onofrio can act. My God, what a man. I was in Men in Black. I played the villain in that movie, and I was also in Full Metal Jacket. Where's Daredevil? Where's Vanessa? The stuff they did with Bullseye, like having that like insect-like sound buzzing in his head, exploring his psychosis. I liked the flashback episode with Karen. I thought that was a really great idea. Sure, it killed a little bit of the moment if you are binge watching, but if you take a little bit of breaks between episodes, it flows really nice. And there was a line earlier in the show where she called her dad and looked for help. And he was like, kind of dismissive of her. And I remember being like, what? That's kind of weird. But then when you see the flashback episode, it's like, I understand now. And it sets you up for possibilities, really starting to worry about Karen. You know, and it's one of those seasons where it really does feel like just anybody could die. And that's rare for a TV show because you're usually expecting more. But this season had that tension all throughout where you really felt like just anybody's disposable. I'm going to give Daredevil Season 3 an A. Guys, thank you so much as always for watching. Look forward to a review of Fantastic Beasts 2, as well as a full video on The Haunting of Hill House. Again, sorry I had to cram all this into one, but I just don't have the time right now to focus on doing separate videos for all of those. But I did go and see all of them. I got to get all of this caught up to date. I'm still manually, one by one, monetizing all my old videos. It's taken me a week. I've gotten through half of them. That is by far the most tedious, meticulous, boring thing I've ever done in my life, but I'm working through it. And I just want to also thank you guys for all the messages of support that I've gotten on YouTube and Twitter and Facebook and Patreon. Like, you guys have been amazing. Thank you so much for understanding the shitty situation that so many other people are in because of the whole Defy Media thing. Hopefully there's a light at the end of the tunnel, but if not, I'm still here and I'm talking. Thank you guys as always for watching. Look forward to more reviews very soon. And if you like this, you can click right here and get Stuckmanized.